You might be eating plenty of protein, but if you're over 60, the timing could matter just as much as the amount. And most people are getting it completely wrong. If you're in your 60s, 70s, or even beyond, and you care about staying strong, steady on your feet, and sharp in the mind, this is something worth paying attention to. Because while protein is essential at any age, what happens after 60 is different. The rules start to shift. And surprisingly, when you eat your protein may actually affect how well your body uses it. Stick with me until the end. We'll go over some common mistakes that silently hold people back, including one that might be making your meals less effective for your muscles. Plus, I'll share a research-backed tip that most doctors don't mention, but could make a big difference for how you feel day to day. And if this topic is speaking to you, do me a small favor. Tap the like button, share this with someone who might benefit from it, and consider subscribing. It's free, and we share weekly science-backed tips to help you stay healthy, strong, and confident at any age. Let's start with something you've probably noticed. It's easier to lose muscle than gain it as we get older. Even if your weight hasn't changed much, your strength, balance, or endurance might feel different than it did 10 years ago. That's not in your head. That's physiology. After 60, your body becomes less efficient at repairing and rebuilding muscle, even when you're eating well. Scientists call this anabolic resistance. It basically means your muscles don't respond to protein the same way they did when you were 30. You might eat a meal with 20 grams of protein, but your body may only use part of it for muscle repair, and the rest goes elsewhere. This is one reason so many older adults gradually lose muscle, even without doing anything wrong. Now, this is where timing starts to matter. According to researchers at the Mayo Clinic and NIH, spreading your protein intake evenly throughout the day, instead of stacking it all at dinner, can help your body absorb and use more of it. Think of your muscles like a sponge. If you try to dump a whole bucket of water on it once, a lot will spill off. But if you trickle it in gradually, you get better absorption. That's especially important after 60. Because when your body becomes a little more resistant to building muscle, you want to give it the best chance possible to soak up every drop. A common pattern in the US is what researchers call protein skewing. Most people eat very little protein at breakfast, maybe toast, cereal, or fruit, then have a modest amount at lunch and a big serving at dinner. While this might feel normal, studies suggest it's not ideal for older adults. In fact, a study published in the Journal of Nutrition found that adults over 60 who consumed equal protein at all 3 meals had significantly better muscle protein synthesis compared to those who ate most of it at dinner. That's a fancy way of saying their bodies were actually building more muscle, not just maintaining. Let's pause on that for a second. They weren't eating more protein overall, just spreading it differently across the day. It's a small shift, but it could mean the difference between maintaining muscle and slowly losing it over time. So let's talk about how much protein your body actually needs per meal, because this part surprises a lot of people. You've probably heard the old guideline, eat about 50 to 60 grams of protein a day. That's based on the minimum amount needed to prevent deficiency in the general population. But it's not ideal for preserving muscle, especially after 60. According to researchers at the National Institutes of Health and Harvard Health, older adults often need more protein than younger people, not less, just to maintain what they already have. That's because of the natural changes in how your body processes nutrients as you age. So what's the sweet spot? For most healthy adults over 60, experts now recommend aiming for around 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein per meal, spaced fairly evenly throughout the day. That's not just a number. It's the threshold your body needs to trigger muscle repair. Think of it like this. Your muscle-building switch needs a certain amount of fuel to turn on. Anything under that threshold, say a slice of toast and a little peanut butter, won't flip the switch. But once you hit that 25 to 30 gram mark, your body gets the clear signal to rebuild and strengthen. So if breakfast has only 5 grams of protein, lunch may be 10. And then you try to catch up with 40 grams at dinner? Your body can only use so much at once. The rest gets wasted. This is why spacing your protein across the day, especially making breakfast and lunch protein-rich, matters more after 60 than it ever did before. Now, let's bring this into the real world. Most traditional breakfasts in the US fall way short on protein. Cereal with milk, about 8 grams. A banana and toast, maybe 4 or 5. Even oatmeal, unless you add protein to it, only gives you a modest boost. But if you start your morning with something like Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, eggs, or a plant-based protein shake, you could easily hit that 25-gram mark without overhauling your diet. The same goes for lunch. Adding chicken, beans, tofu, fish, or even a protein-enhanced soup can help you meet your midday target without relying on a massive dinner. And here's the thing most people don't realize. Spacing protein this way isn't just about muscle. Harvard researchers have linked evenly distributed protein intake to better balance, fewer falls, and improved recovery from illness in older adults. In fact, one study found that older adults who hit those 25 to 30 gram per meal targets were significantly more likely to stay independent and mobile over time. Because remember, strength isn't just about lifting weights. It's about getting out of a chair easily, climbing stairs confidently, carrying groceries without strain. These daily movements rely on muscle, and muscle relies on protein. Consistently, not just once a day. Now, you might be wondering, does it matter when during the day I eat the most protein? That question gets even more important when we start thinking about energy, sleep, and digestion, and how protein interacts with your body's natural rhythms after 60. Let's get into one of the more surprising angles: how the timing of protein can affect your energy, sleep, and even digestion as you age. Most people load up on protein at dinner. That's the big meal. It feels satisfying. And culturally, it's what we've been taught to do: save the biggest portion for the end of the day. But here's where things get tricky. After 60, your digestion tends to slow down. Your body becomes less efficient at breaking down large meals, especially in the evening. You might feel more bloated after dinner, or more sluggish the next morning. And protein, while incredibly important, takes longer to digest than carbs or fats. That's part of why it helps you feel full. But if you're getting a heavy dose of it too late at night, it can actually interfere with how well you sleep and recover. There's also something else to consider: your circadian rhythm, the internal clock that regulates everything from your hormones to your metabolism. Research from the Cleveland Clinic and NIH suggests that your body's ability to process nutrients, including protein, is most efficient earlier in the day. In fact, a study in Cell Metabolism found that older adults who consumed more protein earlier, especially at breakfast and lunch, showed better muscle protein synthesis and fewer markers of inflammation. In plain English, your body just handles protein better when the sun is up. So if you're trying to protect your strength and improve recovery, it might be time to rethink that heavy steak dinner and shift some of that protein into your morning and midday meals. It doesn't mean you have to eat like a bodybuilder at breakfast. It could be as simple as adding 2 eggs and some cottage cheese to your toast, or blending a scoop of plant-based protein into your oatmeal. Small shifts, steady benefits. And here's another layer people often overlook: how protein affects brain function and mood, especially when eaten at the right time. You've probably heard of serotonin, one of the feel-good chemicals in your brain. Well, serotonin is built from an amino acid called tryptophan, which comes from protein-rich foods. But here's the thing. In older adults, studies show that morning protein helps support more stable serotonin and dopamine levels throughout the day. Translation: better focus, less irritability, and even a steadier mood. So while many people reach for caffeine in the morning to feel alert, the real secret weapon might be a balanced, protein-strong breakfast. And we haven't even touched on blood sugar yet. If you've ever felt shaky, lightheaded, or unusually tired between meals, your blood sugar might be dipping, especially if breakfast was mostly carbs. But protein helps slow down the absorption of sugars, leading to more stable energy. That's why a bagel or muffin might give you a quick rush, and then a crash. But protein in the mix helps keep that roller coaster steady, and your energy more predictable. Here's the bottom line so far. If you're eating enough protein but still feel weak, tired, or foggy, it might not be what you're eating, but when you're eating it. And the good news, this is one of the easiest things to change. You don't need a new prescription. You don't need to count every gram. You just need to nudge more protein toward your mornings and afternoons and aim for that 25 to 30 gram target per meal. Now, before we wrap up, there's one concern that often comes up when we talk about protein in older adults. Is it safe to eat more protein after 60? You might have heard that high-protein diets can be hard on your kidneys, or that too much protein could weaken your bones. These ideas have been floating around for years. But here's what the actual science says. For healthy older adults, moderate increases in protein are not harmful. In fact, they're often beneficial. The National Institute on Aging, Mayo Clinic, and Harvard Health all agree. Unless you already have advanced kidney disease, a higher protein diet, especially one that's evenly distributed across the day, is safe and can support muscle strength, mobility, and overall health. A recent review published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition looked at protein intake and kidney health in older adults. It found no evidence that increasing daily protein to 1.2 grams per kilogram of body weight, which is above the standard minimum, caused harm in healthy individuals. If anything, it helped preserve lean muscle mass and functional independence. As for bones, that myth's been long debunked. In fact, protein supports bone density, not weakens it, especially when paired with calcium-rich foods and vitamin D. So, if you've been told to cut back on protein for your bones, you might actually be doing the opposite of what your body needs. So, where does this leave us? It leaves us with a message of strength and strategy, not fear. Eating more protein after 60 isn't about bulking up or eating like an athlete. It's about protecting your independence, supporting your muscles, your balance, your energy, even your clarity of mind. And the best part? You don't have to overhaul your whole diet. Just look at your plate, morning, midday, and evening, and ask, did I give my body enough today? Did I spread it out in a way that helps my muscles use it well? And am I supporting not just my calories, but my function? Because the truth is, the right protein, at the right time, can quietly support the life you want to keep living. You deserve to feel strong, to get up from a chair easily, to carry your own bags, to go for walks without fear of falling, and yes, to wake up feeling sharper, steadier, and more in control. That's not hype. That's just what your body needs, and what it can still do when given the right fuel. So here's what I'll leave you with. You're not just aging, you're evolving, and there's power in that. With small science-backed choices, like protein timing, you can stay ahead of the curve, feel stronger, and move through the world with more ease. Because health doesn't come from giant leaps. It comes from the little things you choose each day, especially the ones no one else sees. If this helped you feel more confident or informed, consider subscribing. It's completely free, and we share science-backed health tips every week, especially for adults over 60. And if you found value here, tap that like button, or share it with someone you care about. Because staying strong is something